The sting of my brother-in-law's palm across my cheek cracked louder than the shovels hitting Dad's coffin that afternoon. I tasted blood where my lips split open, and for a second the world tilted. Black suits, wilted flowers, the sharp smell of fresh-turned earth all blurring together. My wife, Priya, stood 2 steps behind him, her eyes wide but her mouth pressed into a thin line. No one moved. Not the cousins, not the neighbors who had come to pay respects. Just the wind rustling the marigold garlands and my brother-in-law's voice slicing through the silence. "You think this money is yours alone?" he snarled, voice low and venomous. $10 million. Dad promised it to Priya. She looked after him more than you ever did. She gets it. All of it. I didn't answer. Couldn't. My ears were still ringing. He spat on the ground near my shoe and walked away, Priya trailing after him without a backward glance. The mourners slowly drifted off, pretending they hadn't seen. I stood there alone, staring at the fresh mound of dirt, wondering how a single slap could split my entire life open. Before that day, our life had been quiet in the way good lives often are. I'm Rajesh, 48, accountant at the same firm for 22 years. Priya taught literature at the local college. We raised 2 good kids, Anika in her final year of engineering, Karen already working in Dubai. Our house in the suburbs smelled of cardamom tea every morning and dalchawal every night. Dad lived with us until his health failed. Then we moved him to the best nursing home money could buy. Every Sunday we'd visit. I'd sit on the edge of his bed while Priya fluffed his pillows and told him stories from her students. He'd laugh that wheezy laugh and pat her hand like she was his own daughter. "You got lucky with this one, beta," he'd tell me, eyes twinkling. I believed him. We were a team, me, Priya, the kids, Dad. Simple, steady, safe. But the week before the funeral, something small had started to feel off. I came home early from the hospital one evening. Dad had taken a turn and found Priya and her brother Vikram in the kitchen. They stopped talking the moment I walked in. Vikram gave me that quick, too bright smile he always used when he wanted something. Priya's fingers were twisting the dish towel so tight her knuckles went white. The air smelled of burnt ginger from whatever she'd left on the stove. I asked if everything was okay. She said yes, of course, just planning Dad's last rites. Vikram left right after, clapping me on the shoulder a little too hard. I told myself it was grief making me imagine things. Families get tense when someone is dying. I poured myself a whiskey, kissed Priya's forehead, and let it go. I should have paid attention to that twist in the towel. I should have listened to the silence after Vikram's car pulled away. Because that slap at the grave wasn't the beginning of the end. It was only the moment the mask finally slipped. That night, after the cemetery, I didn't go home. I drove instead to the old nursing home where Dad had spent his last 18 months. The night nurse let me in without asking questions. She'd seen me there enough times. I sat in Dad's empty room. The bed was stripped, the mattress thin and striped. His oxygen machine was gone, but the faint medicinal smell still hung in the air like regret. I opened the small bedside drawer he'd kept locked. Inside were the things he never let anyone touch. Old letters from Mom, a faded photo of the 4 of us at my wedding, and one sealed white envelope with my name in his shaky handwriting. I tore it open right there under the fluorescent light. The letter was dated 3 months earlier. Rajesh Beta. It began, "If you're reading this, I'm gone. The doctors say it won't be long now. I've left everything to you, not because Priya didn't care, but because I know what money does to people. I watched your mother's family tear itself apart over land when she died. I won't let that happen to my children. The 10 million is yours alone. Use it wisely, protect the kids, and forgive me if I kept secrets. Some truths are kinder when they stay buried." My hands shook so hard the paper rattled. He'd known. He'd seen something I hadn't. I folded the letter, tucked it into my jacket, and left the room without turning off the light. The next morning Priya was already in the kitchen when I walked in. She didn't look up from chopping onions. The knife made quick, angry thuds against the board. Her eyes were red, but not from crying, from lack of sleep, maybe, or from whatever she and Vikram had been planning. I stood in the doorway and watched her for a long moment. "Rajesh," she said finally, voice flat. "We need to talk about the will." I didn't answer right away. I poured coffee into the same mug Dad used to use, blue with a crack near the handle, and sat at the table. The steam rose between us like a wall. "Dad left everything to me," I said quietly. "It's in writing." Her knife stopped. She turned slowly. "That's not what the lawyer said. Vikram spoke to him yesterday. There's a trust. Priya gets half. It's only fair. Dad wrote me a letter. I told her. He wanted me to have it all. She laughed. A short, bitter sound. A letter? You think a letter overrides a legal document? Vikram has proof. Dad changed his mind last month. He told me himself. I studied her face. The woman I'd loved for 25 years looked different in that morning light. Smaller, sharper, corners I'd never noticed before. I remembered how she used to hum old Bollywood songs while cooking, how she'd rest her head on my shoulder during late-night movies. That woman was still in there somewhere. But the one standing in front of me now had already chosen a side. I'm not giving you the money, Priya, I said. My voice was calm, almost gentle. Not because I hate you, because Dad asked me not to. She slammed the knife down so hard the blade stuck upright in the wooden board. You selfish bastard. After everything I did. Nights at the hospital, cleaning his bed sores, listening to him ramble about the past. You think you deserve it all? I stood up slowly. I think Dad deserved peace. And I think you and Vikram took that from him when you started whispering about money while he was still breathing. She stared at me, chest rising and falling. For a second I thought she might cry. Instead she walked past me, brushing my shoulder like I was furniture, and went upstairs. The bedroom door closed with a soft click that sounded louder than any shout. That was the moment I knew the marriage was already over. The slap at the grave had only made it official. I didn't shout. I didn't break things. I simply waited. 3 days later, the family lawyer called me to his office. Vikram and Priya were already there when I arrived, sitting side by side on the leather sofa like they'd rehearsed this. The lawyer, Mr. Sharma, looked uncomfortable behind his desk. He cleared his throat twice before speaking. Rajesh ji, there was an attempt to challenge the will, he said carefully. Vikram brought forward what he claimed was a later codicil, dated 2 weeks before your father passed. It named Priya as the primary beneficiary. Vikram leaned forward, triumphant. Dad signed it in front of 2 witnesses. I have the video on my phone if you need to see. I met his eyes. Show it. He hesitated, then pulled out his phone. The footage was shaky, taken in Dad's nursing home room. Dad sat propped up in bed, eyes glassy from morphine. A man I didn't recognize stood beside him holding a pen. Another held the paper steady. Dad's hand trembled as he made a mark that could barely be called a signature. His voice, thin and slurred, said something unintelligible. The video ended abruptly. Mr. Sharma adjusted his glasses. I've reviewed it. The document is invalid. Your father was not of sound mind at that point. Medical records confirm heavy sedation. The original will stands. Everything goes to you, Rajesh. Priya's face crumpled. Vikram shot to his feet. This is robbery. She sacrificed years. Enough, I said quietly. It was the first time I'd raised my voice since the slap. Not loud, just firm. You didn't sacrifice. You performed. And Dad saw through it. He wrote me a private letter because he didn't trust either of you near the end. Vikram lunged forward like he might hit me again. Mr. Sharma stood up sharply. Sit down or leave my office. Vikram froze. Priya stayed seated, staring at her hands. No tears now, just a hollow kind of defeat. Word spread fast in our small community. By the weekend, relatives who had stayed silent at the funeral started calling. My sister flew in from Mumbai. She hugged me at the airport and whispered, I knew something was wrong when Vikram kept asking about Dad's accounts. Neighbors brought food, quiet gestures of solidarity. Even Anika and Karen, who'd been kept in the dark until now, came home. We sat together on the living room floor the way we used to when they were small, eating cold pizza and talking until dawn. They didn't ask for details. They just stayed close. Priya moved out the following week. She took only her clothes and a few books. No drama, no last fight. Just the soft click of the front door closing behind her. I watched from the window as her brother's car pulled away. The streetlight caught her profile for a second. Tired, older than I remembered. I felt something loosen in my chest. Not hate, just release. Months passed. I sold the big house, too many echoes, and bought a smaller place near the river. The kids visit often. Anika cooks terrible biryani and we laugh about it. Karen sends photos of sunsets from Dubai. I started volunteering at the senior center Dad used to talk about. I read to people who don't have visitors. Their hands feel fragile when they squeeze mine in thanks. I don't hate Priya. I don't even hate Vikram. I pity them, the way greed turns love into calculation, the way it blinds you to the person dying right in front of you. Dad taught me one last lesson without saying a word. Protect what matters, even when it hurts. Sometimes at night, I still smell cardamom in the kitchen and think of the life we built. Then I remember the letter, the slap, the quiet way truth eventually finds its way out. And I sleep better knowing I kept my promise to him. If you've ever watched someone you love change right in front of you, if money ever came between you and family, tell me in the comments. Would you have handed over the inheritance to keep the peace? Or would you have held the line the way I did? Thank you for listening to Broken Trust Stories. If this story touched something inside you, hit that like button, share it with someone who needs to hear it, and subscribe for more real voices, real pain, real healing. Take care of the people who still choose you every day.